So, working as a documentary DP, one of the most exciting things that could happen is getting a call from National Geographic to work on a project with them. This is something that happened to me. This is in 2017, the project that I'm going to show you. And I was hired to do aerial work for them. And so I was the aerial DP. They had an on the ground DP and someone else for the series. And this was for a series called America the Beautiful. And this was one that we shot at Bracken Cave around San Antonio, Texas. And the episode is called Bat-nado. And I will share that link with you down in the description. So I got this job because I'd done another project with them a few months before. They had an aerial DP that was hired on and got sick just a day or so before shooting, and it was a very last minute thing. And this was up in the Texas Panhandle for the same show, and it was about cattle ranching. And so they called me up. They asked me if I wanted to come out there. I had just gotten off another gig, and I was pretty tired. And I told my wife, I said, "Well, hey, it's National Geographic," and she said, "What are you doing sitting here? You need to get off your butt and go out there." So I did that job. It was an amazing job, and I'll talk about that one on another video. And then from that, we got this one. And again, this one is called Bat-nado, and it's about Mexican free-tailed bats that live in this cave. So the Mexican free-tailed bats, they migrate from Mexico to this cave, and this is where they have their babies. And it's the largest population of mammals in the world, which is amazing. So there are about 20 to 25 million bats that live in this cave, and they're usually here for most of the summer. And every evening they go out to go hunting, and they hunt insects, and then every morning they go back into the cave, and then they stay in the cave throughout throughout most of the day. So that was the project. I am not allowed to show the video on YouTube. It's copyrighted and all that, but I will send a link to the actual episode. So hopefully in the United States you can see it. It'll have the title of the show as well. So hopefully if you're in another country, you might be able to at least find it somewhere where you live. And what I have is I have the clips. Some of the highlighted clips that I shot there, and this was just using my drone. So as I go through, I'm just going to show you some of the clips, just kind of kind of the experience that we had, a little bit about the day, what was going on while we were there, and then a little bit more about the technical aspects of it. If there's any questions that you have about this project or just anything in general, just let me know. And that's my cat. She likes to say hello. Anyway, if you have any questions or anything that you want to ask me about this project or any other projects, let me know. All right, so I'm just going to kind of start from the head here, and you can kind of get a sense of it. So this is the opening of the cave, which is kind of interesting. It kind of goes down into the ground. So it's kind of like an amphitheater. And as it started, you can kind of see this is early on, and just kind of did a little bit of a rise up here. And just to kind of show, and this is an overhead shot, obviously. And again, the episode's called Bat-nado. So the interesting thing is when the bats leave the cave, they create this kind of vortex as they leave. They all go out in a swirl, and then from there they fly, and it's kind of like a flock of birds. They fly together. It's almost like a river in the air. It's very interesting to see. So the drone was a really dynamic element to the whole project, to be able to see the bats from the sky. Some of the things that we were concerned about, though, was especially this location. This is a bat conservatory, and so the location is run by a nonprofit organization. They're there to protect the bats and make sure that no one encroaches on their space. Again, with this many bats, they actually serve a great benefit to the local area. They like to hunt insects at night, so farmers especially are really happy that they're flying over their crops and eating all these insects. The thing that we weren't sure about is they'd never had a drone fly in this area before, so it was kind of a concern of what to do, how to avoid the bats, and of course that was my priority as well. The last thing you want to do is harm an animal, especially when you're working on a nature documentary. So what we did was we kind of discussed it. I had a couple of different drones with me at the time, and excuse me, I think I had the Inspire 1 still. Might have just gotten an Inspire 2. Again, this is 2017. So I recommended the Phantom 4 Pro just because it's a little bit smaller, and I thought maybe that's something that might work better around the bats. They were very adamant. They said, don't fly into the bats, try and avoid them, try and stay away from them. But you're going to see here in just a second in a couple of shots that the bats, they kind of had their own ideas. And again, here you see this river. but what I want to show you is the shot coming up. And I guess I could fast forward it. Yeah, right here. So here they're coming right at me anyway. And you can see just how close they're getting. It's just incredible. And it was a little bit of a kind of a hairy experience. I just stopped the drone. Obviously I kept recording, but I didn't move the drone in any direction, and I just kind of let them pass me by. And of course it turns out that, with their sonar ability, they're able to find that drone, and they could see the drone, whether visibly or with their sense of sonar. And the other thing that you'll see is, like, it's kind of a little bit hard to see in some of these shots, but there are other animals that are flying opposite of the bats, and those are actually birds of prey. So the birds of prey are there hunting, and they're hunting all these bats as they fly out. So that's another thing these bats are used to. They're used to trying to avoid, being hunted by a large animal. So they may have considered the drone to be another bird and just wanted to stay away from it. Anyway, it was a great experience. You can kind of see how nice the lighting actually is, and we were really fortunate because there was a kind of a rainstorm that had come just before sunset, and we were a little bit concerned about what that was going to, do to the bats, because the bats don't like to fly in the rain, and if it rains too much, they're just going to stay in the cave. The sun broke right before sunset, and we just had this amazing sky. You can see to the left that it's a little bit darker over here, and then obviously the sun is just blasting in on the right hand side, and it was just a really kind of magical experience to see that. Anyway, and again here you can kind of see this kind of vortex thing. So as I was filming here, down kind of where the bottom of the screen is, there were 3 other camera operators. The rest of the team were shooting on red cameras. I'm guessing red Epic Dragons, but I honestly I couldn't remember what they were shooting with. Most of the guys on the ground do this all the time, and so they're full-time nature filmmakers, and they get hired by Nat Geo quite often. So I was kind of the exception there. I'd never done anything, especially with bats, like this before, and that was, like I said, quite a fun experience. The conservatory was really happy with how we handled everything and how everything was shot, and they were really impressed with the shots that we got, especially seeing these kind of things, because again, seeing it from the air is such a different experience, and just to be able to see this river of bats and as they're flying out. The reason that we did it at sunset instead of in the morning is that the bats tend to all leave at the same time, and it takes about 2 or 3 hours for them to all get out of the cave. In the morning, they kind of straggle back in at separate times, so there's not really an even flow of them returning. So again, starting from the beginning, we shot a lot more that day than just the bats exiting the cave. We shot during the day, we shot in the morning. We also shot a little bit the day before, and we got just kind of scenery of the area. What does it look like? What's the location? And again, this is an area that is between San Antonio and Austin. You can see it's kind of a rocky terrain, and there's a lot of caverns in the nearby area. So it's also a very popular place. You don't see it too much from the air, but every once in a while you might see some cars and things like that off in the distance. But this is becoming a heavily populated area, and so there's a big concern for the bats, because they don't want to encroach on their space. So a lot of the land that's around the cave has been purchased by the conservatory to protect the bats. So again, what we shot with was the Phantom 4 Pro. We shot it in UHD, shot it in a flat profile so that we could match with the red cameras. So the other interesting thing is, like I said, I got this job because I did another job with them, and from this I even got other jobs related to bats. I was asked to go back to Bracken Cave for another shoot, and unfortunately I wasn't available to do it. But then I got another call to do a documentary for PBS about bats, which I'll share at some point as well. And in that documentary, there's another bat cave, and because of the people I worked with at Bracken Cave, they said that, I'd be a great person to work with over there. And from that one, I shot a little bit in the air, but mostly actually on the ground and actually inside of a cave. So I'm going to try and share that at some point so you can kind of see what that kind of looked like and what the experience was, because that's a totally different experience to be inside of a cave and the things that you have to be concerned about. So anyway, sometimes it's a lot of fun to do this kind of work, and I definitely enjoy it, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. Thanks.